It's been a long, old, gruelling season, and it comes down to this final one. I don't know where it's all gone.
Yeah, it flies by when you're in the thick of it. You know, it's we were all fighting for this to be a real significant end to the season. Unfortunately, we just ran out a little bit of steam, but it's again, we can finish in the top half. For me, I see that is the first game of next season already, and that's not disrespecting what this season is, and we owe it to our supporters to really put a performance in. But I spoke after the game the other day about let's identify which individuals are willing to come on this next part of our journey together, and Saturday will have an impact on that.
Has it been a nearly season? How would you describe it?
It's definitely been a season we'll learn from. And I think we spent 10 weeks in the playoffs. We showed real positive signs before the turn of the year, and I think we can clearly identify where and why we've run out a bit of steam. We've got an incredibly young squad at the minute. Not at the minute, we have an incredibly young squad, which the average age is boosted up by one or two individuals, but apart from that, largely under 25 and majority under 21 at the minute. So the experiences that they will have had this year, and some bad ones, to really develop and gain experience and ultimately improve for, I feel like is one of the real exciting positives from this season.
How easy is it for you to implement what you want to do with these players, whether they can go on that journey with you or not? Because it's easy saying that, isn't it? But then can you actually do something about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I said, we've clearly identified where we needed to improve, but we set a culture and an environment that winning becomes the norm, and that real high standards are expected and demands every day. Now that's difficult to sustain because it's intense. And at Christmas time, I think I said to you guys openly that it really finds teams out this period, and maybe one of the two of the young lads didn't understand what I meant by that. There's Christmas time where the fixture list is really congested, and then there's that period up to March International where you don't get a break for 4 months, and it is gruelling. So those are the two real mentally tough periods in the Championship season, and if they didn't know what I meant by that, it certainly found us out, and they do now. So that's what I'm talking about, these experiences. So next year, when I'm to say, lads, we know that you need to show mental resilience over Christmas. We need to really roll our sleeves up, and if we're not at the races, we need to get a draw minimum, because we've not drawn enough this season when we're not at the races. And I think all these messages and experiences will for sure put us in really, really good shape next year.
So are you going to let them have this 1 year experience? And because there might be some who you think don't have that mental resilience, but you might be stuck with them. So is it they've got that 1 year where they've seen what happens, and now they've got to do it next season?
I think stuck with them is really unfair. And we're not stuck with them. We've got a really exciting group of young players who are wanting to develop. Now, that's where we're at as a club at the minute. We've not got unlimited funds that you can buy the oven-ready Championship players that maybe the relegated clubs who've got parachutes can. What we've done this year is certainly develop a group of young players. Ultimately, football is about winning, and that's where we need to sustain more next season. That is, we have a clear plan to develop young players, but can we sustain winning football matches whilst doing it? Because ultimately that is all what we're here for.
Match on Saturday is a big one for you, for the club, for the supporters, because it's a run of form that obviously nobody wants. Yeah.
For first and foremost, the players owe a performance to their supporters who have stuck with them through thick and thin in huge numbers, home and away. And we want to address our fans at full time and do the awards ceremony having put on a good performance and a win. So that is hugely important to us. It's the difference between top half and bottom half, and less significant, it's the difference between improving on last year. All right, we've been stuck on the same points tally as last year for 3 games now. It'd be nice if we could improve that. and finished 12th and finished 3 places higher than we did last year. Small progress as that may seem, it's still progress. But the main one is go out there and perform for your supporters on Saturday who deserve that.
There probably won't be that many goodbyes because I think most are under contract again for next year, a few more years. I suppose it's the loan ones who might be saying goodbye.
It's quite rare to only have, I think, one out of contract. So I'm sure there'll be turnover of players in the summer, and I'll be speaking to every player individually over the next week or so, and really get an idea of who's in it, who's invested in the journey, because I'm certainly excited by it. I think we'll all really have developed for this season, and especially this last 3 months, and we can build from it, improve on it, and gear up for what will be an exciting journey.
Have those conversations began about who we want to keep and who we can perhaps say goodbye to?
Yeah, and obviously the players' ambitions and motivations have to be factored into that. I'm not someone who will beg someone to stay. You have to be fully invested in this club, this journey, and the increase of demands that will be put on the players next season.
When you look at the team, who have been the standout players?
I'm sure the Player of the Year vote won't be too far off it. Imran's been fantastic since he's come in the team. I think Moussa and Mattie have been consistently top performers, and first part of the season, Giorgi was one of the best players in the league. But there's been Kayembe. There's been a lot of top performance, but I think that group of players will probably fight it out for who the fans vote for Player of the Season.
Last season, some of the top assets had to be sold to balance the books. Do you expect Giorgi Chakvetadze to be playing next season? He's probably the biggest asset at the club.
I do, yeah. Yeah, I expect it, and that's one thing. I expect a lot of our top players to be here next season. I won't be surprised to see a couple of exits, and that's how Championship clubs are. Most of them are selling clubs, but I'm fully preparing for all our top players and match winners to be in the building, because you can see that is what we've missed. There's no difference in the amount of goals we've conceded from pre-January to post-January. The amount of goals we've scored has dropped significantly, and the availability of Georgie, of KB, of Moussa through suspension, we haven't got the depth in our squad to be able to cope with that. So yeah, we won't want to lose any of those players in the market, that's for sure.
Do you think next season will be a similar strategy to this season, where you will have to use the young players? Yeah,
but listen, like I said before, I don't think it's going to be. We're going to have to use a new batch of young players like this season. We've had James Abankwah, Caleb Wiley, Mamadou Doumbia, Rocco Vata. These players all under 21 that have had to play a huge part in our season. Now, I don't expect a new batch of under 21-year-olds to again have to be integrated to the team. I think we build on this group, and some will be working hard to try and get James back, and working hard to try and get Caleb back to the club. But we for sure have an exciting group. Amin Nabizada and the group of second-year scholars coming through are also an exciting group, and we can certainly build on the young players that we've got.
Abankwah, you mentioned a possibility of coming back, because he still needs to learn the game a bit more, doesn't he? We've seen in recent weeks that sometimes he's not making the right option, even though he's been fantastic. Yeah,
this is to be expected from young players. You know, James is a little bit older than Mamadou and Rocco, but he's fairly inexperienced when it comes to minutes in senior football. So they always have these little dips in form and decisions, and he'll learn from the one at Bristol City. And the impact he's made has been a real positive one since coming to the club. And the last 3 or 4 weeks, he should learn from, not take a hit of confidence from, but learn from. And it's my job to teach him and keep developing him, because he's got huge potential, James, and he's got the attitude to maximise that.
Looking forward to the break after Saturday?
I'm looking forward to preparing for next season. I'm sure my family will tell me I need to have a break, which I do, but I've certainly had a real spring in my step this week when I think of planning next year and the squad and pre-season and done a lot of reflection this week, a lot on why of the last 3 months, and really have a real clarity and clear-minded of where that is and how we're going to get that better to make sure we sustain a top 6 push next year.
Just a final one. As you've been through it once before now, because you had a pre-season last year, how much is that going to help you this time around?
Yeah, it's really important the players understand exactly what I expect from them, how I want to play. So those are not messages that we don't have to repeat now. We can focus on recruitment. We can focus on physical condition of the players, rather than me having to deliver a load of tactical information and principles of how I want to play. The players know that. Certainly the players that have been at the club. And yeah, real focus on building a squad that can compete, as well as there'll be a more physical demands on the pre-season for the players.
Who's not available on Sunday or Saturday that we don't know about? Is there anybody? No new concerns. Yasser Larouci will be back in the squad. And Kevin's back in.
Kevin's available, yeah.
Who's the one that's out of contract?
Ogbonna.
That's it. You talked about the young players and some of them, not having many minutes and needing to learn. At the end of this season, when you look back on it, as a manager, you've probably been in the same position as they have as players. Do you think, or where do you think you maybe made mistakes, or look back on it and think that I should have done that differently? Is there anything that springs to mind?
For sure, we've been too light in the squad, which I must take responsibility for. I was 100% involved in those conversations on 2 or 3 strikers, on Porteous going to Preston, and all these things I was involved in, and the club really backed me in those conversations. We know that we missed out on one on deadline day and attacking option, so it wasn't for the want of trying to bring an extra attacking option that would have helped us suffer these injuries to Barr and Chakvetadze. But yeah, for sure, we've been definitely on the light side because we've had much more. So a lot of more absentees this side of Christmas, and we've just not had the depth to be able to cope with it. So I think that'll be a big part of my learning this year.
In the same way that you said, James Bankwell shouldn't ponder on what happened at Bristol City, do you beat yourself up over those things, or can you move on from them?
No, I can move on from them, absolutely. I understand that a part of a young player's learning is to make these mistakes. Now, the difficult thing for us is we're playing 6-7 young players, and if they're all making these sort of inexperienced mistakes, or not only mistakes, but sort of the game management side of it is where we fell short quite a lot, then that's a lot to deal with, but they'll all develop from that. But yeah, maybe that's a little bit part of our recruitment process over the summer is can we have a couple more bodies in that can really help those young players through that process.
I mean, also moving on from what you think are your own mistakes as well. Do you sit at home and beat yourself up on those? No, I'm very present. What I can impact now and what I can impact on in the future. So, yeah, I have took this week to reflect a lot. But I certainly don't beat myself up over it now. When I look back over the results, outside of the first month, there wasn't, I can't remember a period where we had a long run of wins or a long run of losses. And that may be the problem that we've had over the season, is that we've never been able to get that momentum.
Yeah, and listen, we all say that anyone can beat anyone in this league, so it's tough, but that's what I expect us to go on. We prepare the team, we've got quality when everyone's fit. I expect us to go on these runs, and I expect those wins to be normal, and I expect people's feet to stay on the ground when we do go on these runs, and we will go on these runs. So, been disappointing that that's not happened after the first month. But yeah, we will be preparing for that to happen next season.
We're going to finish in the middle of the table, whether it's above halfway or below halfway. Do you think, judged on this season, we're a mid-table team, or a bottom half team that's done well, or a top half team that's underperformed?
I think you are where you end up. So we have to say we're a mid-table team. We are a team who, on our day, will win, and on our off day, will lose. Now, the key for me is to get a certain foundation of basics, managing the game, experience, to make sure that we've lost 21 games, we've only drawn 7 or 8. If we can turn 8 or 9 of them into draws, you've got a very similar record to Bristol City. So we've won I think we've won one less game than Bristol City. They've just drawn a lot more than us. And you look at the profile of their player, and it is a lot of experience. Not experiences in 30s, but people in mid-20s. People who know, well, right, we're having an off day here today. Let's not get beat. And my approach has to be that. I approach every away game thinking, how can we win this game? Maybe that approach changes slightly next year. How do we not get beat? All right, because we've approached every away game to win it. We've only won 4. So how do I set up the team and these players get on our off day a draw at minimum? Because yeah, we've for sure we've lost too many games on our off days this year, and you have to find a way to get a result in this division.
Tom, what sort of challenge are you expecting from Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday?
Yeah, they've sort of got transitioned a lot this season of how they want to play, but they're really rotational at the minute. They've got some really nice players at this level: Armstrong, Bannon, Windass, Gassama. A lot of threat. Obviously, a really good young coach, and I think we're the same age. So I want the bragging rights of the young coaches on Saturday.
The 6-2 win at Hillsborough. Where does that rank on the best moments for the club this season?
Yeah, for sure, right up there, probably just behind the Luton at home win, and fantastic performance. But certainly second half, where the day where everything clicked, and yeah, we'll be doing everything we can to try and simulate that and send our supporters away with what they've deserved.